Yo, I'm back, fans. I'm just basically back to talk about the Phanteks case build that I've done. I'm just doing some more updates, details, and some thoughts about the whole setup and some of the improvements that I discovered that should be done. Now, first of all, Phanteks case, they have a power button that turns both systems off. Now, there's a reset button and a main power button. Now, the reset button controls the other system, so you don't have a reset option on neither unit. Now, with that being said, now what will happen is let's say, for example, the main system, you go to turn it off completely, it shuts both systems off, so then you're reloading both systems, not one system. Now, I do have the Phanteks power supply that goes with it, but that's basically how it's set up. It just basically turns the whole power supply off. I don't know why they just couldn't put in like some type of. They have two ports for two systems. Why couldn't they just put an individual internal switch that shuts the power off to off to each individual port, so that the power supply doesn't completely turn off? And maybe they should have like a hard reset switch too, that you can basically just hard reset it if you're not able to do it the other way. Now, it's fun and dandy, but basically, if something crashes and then you're doing something on the other system, you're going to lose both systems. So the only way that you could do this, you could reboot the secondary system. You can restart the main system, but you have to go to the start menu, hit restart, and restart it that way. Because if not, you go to shut it down from the power switch, it turns both systems off, and then you're reloading both systems. Now, that's the only downfall that I'm seeing so far with the power option. Now, the Phanteks, I put caster wheels on the bottom. It was an excellent idea. Now, I don't know why it can't come from the manufacturer with wheels on it, because the case is awful heavy when you have two systems in it. If you only have one system in it, not half bad, but if you got two in it, you do have a significant weight difference when there's two systems set up. Now, the other thing as well, I find that the side where all the wires are hidden, the panel, they only give you like I think like an inch of space from the panel to the back to fish all your wires. Now that's fine if you got one system. Now when you start sticking two systems in there, it starts getting very finicky to try and push those wires. Now everyone says there's a lot of room in these cases, that you should never run out of room. Well, I proved them wrong, because I filled my case up to the max, and I could probably fit a few more things in there, but at this point, it's pretty well getting very tight. If I put anything else in there, probably going to start causing issues with airflow. Now, another thing. Now, if you're going to have two systems and both systems are going to be liquid cooled, the only way you could do it is you have to put one at the top or one in the front. To put one in the bottom is going to be a little difficult. From what I can see, the only one, the best fit that's going to fit there is the 2-fan liquid cool system or the 1-fan liquid cool system. The third one is going to make it very tight because it runs up against the other one in the front, so you can't put two liquid coolers that are 3-inch fan each without modifying the case. Now, next thing. Now, there's not enough USB ports on this device. You're getting two USB ports on the front, two for one system and two for the other. That is definitely not enough. There's enough room there that we should at least get about 8 USBs on the front of the unit, and that cover, when you have the desktop on the floor, the cover that goes over the USB ports, it is very difficult to stick the cord in and see how you're plugging it in. You're like bending your head down, you're like pushing back, You're trying to see where to plug the cord in. Not fun. If you're plugging in and leaving it in there and not taking it out, great. Now, the other problem I have with that cover. Now, the cover that covers the USB, what happens if something falls on it? If something falls on it, it's going to fall on that USB cord, and it's going to rip your USB cord and damage your USB port on your front USBs. It's another thing. Now, why couldn't they not put some USBs on the top next to the switch on each side? Excellent. Now, why do they not put 2 switches in the top and 2 reset switches? Because if it is a dual system and you're basically building it for a server or something like that, you may not want it to shut both systems off. Because that could be for example, let's say if you mine on one system and you're mining and you don't turn that off and you want to keep it on at all times so you get better chance of mining more coin, then having both systems turn off is not the best situation. I find there's a lot of things about this case that really not 100% been thought through. That there could have been some improvements. I don't know. Maybe they have thought of these ideas, and it just for cost effective and the price of the case, maybe if they did do that option, it would have just cost so much that no one would be interested in buying the case. Possibility. Now, the next scenario. Now, this system is so big that I find when you put 2 systems in it, it creates a lot of amount of heat. Especially when you have 3 video cards in your system, 3. Plus, you have a liquid cooler for both systems. Causes an awful lot of excess heat. Which I don't understand. If you have a radiator that's like 3 fans big, it should not be that hot that you can't touch it. Like, to me, I don't know, that just doesn't make sense to me. Now, next thing. Now, why don't all these liquid cooler manufacturers, has nothing to do with the Phanteks case? Why is it that you're not able to refill a sealed liquid cooling system? Because it's sealed, and the only way you can get that fixed is you'd have to send it back to the manufacturer and get them to replace it. Or, I don't know if they do repairs or not. I haven't looked into it. Maybe there is. Now, if you're in a big city, they have a company that specifically fills these. But if you're in a small town, then you're not going to have these options for these liquid cooler. Now, why can they not put a drain plug with a thread on it, with a seal on it, so you can tighten it, and then if your liquid cool system basically runs, liquid burns up in it or dissipates or evaporates, then you could refill it with some coolant. Now, I'm just saying that may just my opinion, but you should be able to refill it. If you're paying like $300 to $400 for a liquid cool system that's 100% sealed, I'd like to have the option to be able to refill it. Like, they're talking about environment, trying to save on waste, and basically a sealed liquid cool system is almost a throwaway system. You just throw it away. Now, I don't know if this is possible, but what I was thinking is that maybe someone should create a kit where that you can drill a hole in a sealed system and it has a drain plug and a cover they can put on it and then put new coolant in it. That'd be great. Or just the manufacturers do it from the begin with. Now, that's another complaint. Now, I got issues with some of these motherboard manufacturers. Okay. Now, you very well know that any gaming person, most times, is going to have a cross-fired system set up. Now, what they'll do is, they'll take the 2 PCI Express slots, and then they got the mini PCI slot. Now what they'll do is they'll put the secondary port for the video card right next to the mini port. So then you can't put a card in it, the port's wasted, and you can't do anything with the port. Stupid. Like, why did not put the PCI mini port down on the next slot where there's enough space? Like, there's no video card out there now, manufacturers, that make it thin enough that that's going to clear. It's been a long time since they've done that. So, they got to catch up on that. Now, next thing. Why would they design all these channels and everything and design that you have a 2-port NVMe drive when you put 2 video cards in? You can't use two dual NVMe. You only can use one. I guess there's not enough data channels or channels that they created so that it could do that. Now, if a person's going to max the system out and spend the max amount of money, and they're going to make you pay so much for these boards, he's got to start making it more convenient. Now, another thing. With the mini PCIs, why can't you put mini PCI ports, other ones, on the board? Because you can buy riser cards where you can plug into a mini port and you'd be able to use that riser card. Now, why not put more USBs on the board as well inside, so that you can actually hook up USB PCIe minis so you can add additional cards? Because this is the issue I'm running into. What's happening is that there's only so many SATA cables on the board. So what happens is once you start running out of SATA ports, then you're running into other issues. Then the other thing is if you use a SATA card that is like a hub, you can buy them. I have one, which I put in and hooked it up, and I don't know if it's just because of the manufacturer of the SATA hub, but everything would, after you hook up 2 or 3 SATA drives, then the rest of the ports will not detect all of your SATA ports. So that's another problem. Now, the other solution, what I did is I used a riser card cable that's really long. And what I did is that it has the PCI, it has the metal guard on it, so you can put it in the back of the computer. What I did is I took the metal guard off, I drilled 2 holes and tapped it, and then I put the studs, put them in, and then I attached that with 2 screws. So then I screwed that on the side where all the cables are at. So that works perfect. That was a brilliant idea on my part, what I did in that scenario, to get more SATAs that will work, and it picks up every component and every device. So that's what I did. Now the other thing they don't tell you about this, they have the cards where you can lay them this way and you can put them this way. Now, you don't need any special brackets at all to put those components in. The one that stands up on the back, they have a slot on the bottom, and you slip the card into the slot, and then you put a screw on the top. Perfect. Hooks in, doesn't move, nothing. Now, the only thing, you don't need anything like adapters or stuff like that, but what I feel, the card kind of, I don't know, it kind of doesn't hang the way, you feel comfortable. Like, it would be a lot of strain on the board of the graphics card over a long period of time. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the GPU riser stands to hold them up so that they don't move. Now, the Phanteks do come with a bracket that does reinforce the metal on the back. You use that bracket, but there's only one. They don't have it set up so that you can use it for dual systems. If you're going to build a dual system case, I want the components that I can do both on both systems. Now, another question. Another thing I was thinking of. Now, that was my complaint about that. Now, next thing. Now, there's an adapter thing that does come with it that you can put it the other way. Now, the bottom system you can mount the cards this way or the other way. Now, the problem with that is you only can mount them this way, like this way, because what happens is you have to plug it into the card. Now, you can put it the other way too as well, but they only give you one plastic. There's a plastic that goes over the card when you put them this way, that goes on the bottom to hide the PCIe riser board, so it looks more cleaner. You only get one. So if you're setting up more than one video card that way, you're not going to be able to make it look pretty. That's another scenario. So you should have another one of them in the kit. Now, the other thing is they very well know that people have more than 4 hard drives, especially if you're building a dual system. Now, when I bought the system, they only come with 2 cages, which it should have 4 cages, so you can max the system out, because it is a dual boot system. That's another concern. Now, that's fine, dandy. So now, the other complaint that I have, that I bought these Zeilman fans. They have no guards around them or no things around the edge. Now, the problem with that is, let's say if I want to turn the fan the opposite way. The problem is, if you turn the fan the opposite way, it's going to interfere with cables. Now, this is my scenario, what happened that I didn't think was going to be an issue. Now, what happened is I was going to put them the other way, so that you can go, that you can pull it out or push or pull. Because I like to have a pull in the front and a out in the back, so that you can run the hot air over it, and it goes back and out the back and out of the case completely. Can't do that. There's no way to make the fans go reverse. Nothing. Can't do it on your motherboard to change it. Can't do it that way neither. The only option you would have, you'd have to have some type of controller that can do that for you. Now, Zeilman fans look good. Now, let's say you're doing something and you don't pay attention and a stray little wire decides to pop down. Now, this is what happens. The fan will grab the wire and wrap it around the fan. Now, you think, okay, just wrap it around the fan, should be fine. Now, when it did that, the fans are so delicate that it snapped a fin off 2 of my fans. Now, they are still in the system. It's only about an inch, half of the fan blade is broke. Now, the only problem, when that does happen, they do run fine. But if you put your hand on the case, you can feel a little bit of vibration because the fan blade is not the right length. Now I don't understand why would they not reinforce the fan? Now, the only thing I can think of, for safety purposes, in case your finger don't get in there, because if it was a fan blade thing, she'd be quite the gory scene. So, now, that being said, So those fans are still in the case at the moment right now, so I'm just going to stick with it. Now the problem is that I have a small room. Now, dual systems, 3 video cards, all that jammed in one case. It's a lot of heat. So I don't have a thermostat in my room to control the heat in my room only. Because 9% of the time with all this heat in here, I could probably heat my room the whole winter without using a furnace. So, and then, could have thought, put a zone valve in, put a thermostat in. It sounds kind of easy, but there's still a lot of work involved. Now, so, that's said and done. Now, when the doors open in the room's fine, temperature's fine. It's just as soon as you close the door and all the computers and everything are running. And then if you're working or doing anything that the door's closed, it's going to be that hot in here, it's going to feel like Florida or the Bermuda Bahamas. So, it's that warm in here, like, if you fell asleep, you probably have a hard time waking up. So, that's a thing I found. Now, if you're in a well-ventilated area and it's a big room, and not like a 11 by 12 room, then you probably wouldn't have this problem. Now, so, I tried liquid cooling it, thinking, maybe it'll dissipate the heat a little better. Well, no. Same issue. Now, the other scenario is I do have air conditioning, but I only can use the air conditioning option in the summer. Can't use in the winter. Apparently, once you go below a certain temperature, it'll cause the condenser coil to fail or cause issues to the air conditioner. Now, that's it. But I discovered that you don't have to put it on the air conditioned mode. You can leave out the air conditioned mode and just recirculate the air in the room and bring the cold air from outside into the room, but do not put it on AC mode or humidifier mode in the winter. Now, I was going to do that, but then the big issue with that is then you got the vent that you put in the window. And the problem is you can seal it fine at the bottom or in the window, no issues. But there's a gap above the window where you open the window, and that gap is way too big. Now, I was thinking maybe I could, shrink wrap it. You can buy those kits for the windows, so you shrink wrap it and seal it for the winter. Now, the only problem with that is, with the window being open like that, you can cause an issue with the dual pane seal on the window over a period of time. It can cause the condensation inside the window, and then you break the seal, and then you're creating more problems. Now, I know the window thing is easy. You can plug it out, pull it out in the winter, and it's a lot easier just because the tube just hooks to the adapter. So, that's fine, but the issue with that is I find it's very messy. Like, it's not clean, it doesn't look good. Like, I have extra long curtains, so that's one of the reasons why I have the curtains closed all summer, because then it hides all of the ugliness in the window. Now, the other option is every once in a while I like to open the window and just circulate the air in the room every once in a while. I know there is a mode that pulls the air in from the outside, but it's not going to pull the air, the air that's not fresh out. So that is not really a solution. Now, I was watching some other videos and other techies, other custom builders, and I was noticing a lot of them are using greenhouse tents to put their computer in to vent it outside. Now, what I was thinking that wouldn't be a good idea. Because over a longer period of time, if there was heat in the room and the computer is inside this tent, wouldn't it not cause a greenhouse issue inside the tent and cause liquid drip on the computer, which then would cause more damage and you'd be replacing almost everything. That's my thoughts on the tent thing. Now, I see other people like doing things like I just like thinking to myself, do you honestly think that's going to work? There's people sticking cardboard with, duct tape and tuck tape and, sticking cardboard stuff on the case. Like, you don't want someone to come to your house and you're playing games and see, like, cardboard and tape all stuck inside your computer. Like, just, why not just go and, like, on Amazon or Home Depot, local Home Depot, and buy a dryer vent adapter? It has holes for 4 screws, and it's circle, and they come in about up to 6 inches. So then it looks clean and it doesn't look terrible. Now, the idea I'm going to do, what I was thinking of doing is that's going to have the way I'm going to do my vent. There's a case vent on the back of the computer at the top. I'm going to take the fan, I'm going to leave it there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the adapter flush against the back of the case. And I'm just going to put 4 screws through the mesh in the back, because there's mesh where the fan is. And just got to make sure that it's going to be outside of the fan so that the fan doesn't run up against the screw heads or something along that line. Now, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a 5-inch dryer vent. You can buy them. They are there. They're, not as many options with 5-inch, but they are there. So what I'm going to do is buy a dryer vent that's insulated with foil, with the insulation, and with a plastic black coating over the edge, over the tube. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach that to the back of the case where I'm going to put that adapter for the hose to hook to. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a clamp on it. Then I'm going to put foil tape and wrap it around. You can buy black foil tape. I may go that route because then everything will match. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it's a booster or it's a fan that you put inside of a greenhouse tent. Now, what happens is that these only have a one-way blow. So it only blows in or sucks out. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put one of them in right by after the computer and the fan and the air conditioner. Because what I was thinking of doing is I'm going to run the AC and the computer all into one vent, so it vents outside. And I'll just use like a T that goes this way and like that. Not the one that goes off on the Y, because if you go off on the Y, it's going to take up more space. If you go this way, you can just plug the tubes into it, and then you'll have less wasted space. Now, you can buy ones where they do have the elbows where it's flat on the back, and then you just put your hose in here like that, and then when you push it in against the wall, you save space because it's flush, and you don't have to worry about that big manual bend going on. So you could go that route too. So then I'm going to run the hose from the computer to that vent, and then I'm going to run the AC from the AC to that vent. Now, the issue is that you're going to have to put the booster after the 2 units. Because what will happen is the computer will blow the vent open. That's not going to be a problem. But the issue is the air conditioner is not going to be able to open a vent if you go with a normal dryer vent. The tabs are going to stay down. Now, with the fans, they do have a damper where that it will stop from a backflow from coming in. So basically what I'll do is I'm going to suck the warm air outside of the computer, and then I'm going to pump it outside for the winter. Now, when the summer comes, you're going to need that booster fan because you're going to need it because you need to have that so it'll blow the vent open. Now, the booster is going to be better too as well because it's going to suck everything out and it's going to create a better flow. And that will be better. Because if you're trying to go and vent that off just the computer fans, it's not going to blow that vent open. Now, what you can do is you can buy 5-inch vents that are 100% open. They have a mesh and a filter on it, will stop bugs from coming into the vent. So basically, then you don't have to worry about any of those flaps or anything or any of those opening because it will be wide open. Now, the other thing I was thinking too as well, I could do is basically put a damper vent on the computer, and when I want cool air, I don't have to use air conditioner or anything. I can use the natural cold air from outside to cool the computer down and the room down. And then what I was thinking of doing, maybe I can have some type of setup where I can use it that has a temperature control, so that it'll just pick up what the temperature is in the room, and it'll just adjust it by itself, so that you don't have to be turning it off and turning it on, and you can just step away and walk away. And then there's less, gotta go flick the switch all the time, turn the switch off when it gets hot and it gets warm, and vice versa. Now, a normal person may say, well, just open the window up. Well, now, open a window up in the winter, you can do that, yes. I wouldn't suggest it. Because if it snows out, snow will come in the window. If it rains out, rain will accumulate. All depends on how the wind blows in, which is another scenario. Other scenario is that if you forget about it and you leave it there overnight, it's going to be that cold in here. It's going to be like a freezer. And that is not really an option in my book. Now, when I do get the setup all done, I will do a video on it and show you how I are going to go about it. I just figured this way you have less problems with humidity, less problems with dampness or water or anything getting into the system this way. So I think this would be the best solution. Now, if you open the door and you had that turned on, then the issue with that is then you're going to be pulling all that heat that is making in the house to make the house warm. So basically, this option would be good for if the door is closed. So I would have to have an option that I can turn it off when I like. So that's another thought. Yeah, the other thing is like I thought, maybe I can use, a heat pump that has the AC option. Problem with that is that there may be issues with wiring it in, putting it in. You may have to upgrade stuff. You may have to change things, which then is going to be more of a headache. And you're going to spend more money that way. I'm trying to spend it in the medium range where it's not too expensive. It's kind of like, a good price. And the other thing is if I do this, I could probably make a system and sell the kit. And then other people could take advantages of the kit. And that's my other idea. So if I put a damper in the tube, then I can suck the air from outside and then make the room cold. Now, like I said, the fan's going to go one way. So basically in the winter, you'd have to mount it one way. Then when the spring came in the summer, you'd have to turn the fan around so that it will go the other way so that it'll suck it out instead of blowing it in. So that's the only thing with that. Now, if you can find a booster fan that goes sucks in and blows out, then you could just buy that and you don't have to be changing that around. What I want to do is I kind of want to make this cooling idea so that I can walk away from it and don't have to worry about it. And you don't have to you turn stuff off, changing stuff around when the spring comes, because it's terrible trying to change. You're putting that vent in your window every day. I know it's an easy task, just open the window, stick it in, but it's just the hassle that you have to take the time out to do that every year, and you have enough stuff to take away in the put away in the winter, because Canadian winters you can't leave patio furniture and stuff out over winter because it will cause damage over a period of time. So that's probably going to be my next build that I'm going to do. So I don't have a diagram or anything of what I'm going to do, but I think I'm going to make a diagram and draw it up, or do it on a CAD or something, and basically figure out what I'm going to do. But I do have it in my head how to do it. But if you don't understand what I'm thinking of, then drawing a diagram would be a lot more easier and a little more easier to understand. Now the other thing is you maybe just you could avoid the fan altogether. Like if I wasn't hooking the vent up for the AC and the computer both at once, at the same vent, then all I would do is just put a damper in it and just let the cold air come in from the outside into the computer, and it will cool it that way. Then you don't have to do nothing. The only problem with that is then you're letting air in through the computer, and it's going to come outside of the vents and all that, and it's going to cause the room to overheat. Now the other thing is you can always buy a damper that you can use electric, so that you can control it by your phone and stuff like that, so that you can, turn it off when you don't need it when the door is opened, so you don't have the cross flow where it's pulling out the cold air and you make the rest of the house cold. Now that's my thoughts on that. Liquid cooling is not going to solve the problem. Adding more fans is not going to solve the problem. It's just going to move it around the air around the room more. Now, when the computer's on normal mode and you're playing video games and you're not mining, then the computer is at a half decent temperature. Now, once you go over and start mining with 3 video cards, then the heat starts to get unbearable because it maxes out the card, and the card runs a lot more longer, which then causes more heat. Now, so that are my thoughts there, so I will discuss that more when I start doing it. Now, the other thing, the Phanteks case. What else have I noticed? They should do is there's a little groove on the front of the case where there's no light. And I see on one of their models they have a light. Now, why do they not sell a kit that you could run a rope light down in that groove and then run a wire? And then that's another accessory they could sell, and it would be something you would not have to make. So what I may do down the road, I'm going to buy a rope light, run it down there, and drill a hole in the bottom of the case at the bottom or at the top, and then hook it up to a port so that I could power the LED light, which is what I'm going to do in that scenario. Now, the next thing, maybe they should have a way that you can add a panel inside that you can put over when you put your wires in, because you will still see your SATA cables, your cords, your power cord, and everything that plugs in. Maybe they should make something like a shroud or something, or a cover that you can put over those wires so they 100% disappear. Now, they do have an LED strip in the case. It's inside the case by the mini system. Now, they should probably put 2 LED strips in there, because then you could use both systems to control the LED. And if you want, you'd have individual options of setting up your colors if you wanted to. Just a thought. So that's fine. Like, you have all that extra space inside the case. I can kind of see why they took some of the space away from the side where all the wires are at. Because once you put the view card in there and slap it sideways, like so, it doesn't give you any extra room to pull from inside that case. So, there's a thing that Thermaltake makes that they have for their dual case, where you can attach it to the side of your case on that side. Why do they not have an additional option where they have one that's like 3 or 4 inches and you can attach it to the side of that case? And then you could run some extra PCI cards with riser cables. It will give you more room for space, and it'll give the option for you to put fans in there to cool it sideways too, give you a crossflow cooling too. Another thought. Now, or what they could do is just leave the width of the case the same and have it where that you can attach a piece to the bottom so that you can add a secondary power supply. So then you can have individual power buttons and individual power supplies so that it doesn't cause an issue when one system turns off. Another suggestion. You can make some money and have attached at the bottom and another accessory. That would work. Or even with the one on the side. If you had a 4-inch one that you attached to the side of the case, you could put an additional power supply in there too as well. Or maybe give you an option to add more video cards. Like if you're mining, you could add 3 video cards in the bottom if you added a box. Or you could add like about, 8 or 9 video cards on that side. Another idea, another accessory. Because I see miners could take full advantage of this case. If that was an option. Now, with that being said, their power supply they have for the dual system, love it. Fantastic. Makes the installation smooth. The only thing I find, there's not enough ports for 2 systems. Like, I find you're going to get kind of limited at a point with your power. So, that's a concern. Now, like I said, if you're going to make a dual power system, they should make it so that it can shut the port off. Like, have some kind of internal switch that turns off that one power slot and vice versa the other one, so they can make it individually so that you wouldn't have to have 2 individual power supplies, and that the other system reboots, it will not affect the other system if it shuts off. That's another thought. Now, with all that additional space that you have there, you could add maybe another power supply if you turned it on its side. But the only problem with that is if we turn it on the side, then there'd be no way to power it in or plug it in the back. That would not work. So, like I said, that case that I was saying you could attach to your existing case to be able to give you room to add more power supply, that'd be great. Now, one thing I do love about this, that they do have an adapter where you can put DVD drives in that in. I know not a lot of people use DVD drives now. So, they have a kit. The only problem is you're going to lose 2 hard drive slots. That's the problem. It goes inside, screws on. You can add up to total of 2 devices. I got my temperature gauge in there that shows the temperature of the system, and it controls all the fans. Then I have a DVD drive in there for my graphics disc so that I can do my final graphics. If it wasn't for that, I would need that. Now, you may be thinking, well, why doesn't he just convert it to a USB stick or convert it as an image and run it from an image? Well, I could do that. Great. But I just thought the disc would be a lot more easier, because who knows? Maybe there's at a point I'll have to install something or need an installation disc. And if you're installing something new inside the computer anyway, you're going to have the panel off anyway. So then that gives you the ability to do when you're like maintenance in the system or maintaining the system, then you have access to DVD drive. But the problem with this is you will not have access to the DVD drive when you put the glass on. You'll just see it. So that's the other thought. Now, why not Dave design something a little different? What I was thinking, this was my thoughts. Why not they make the side of the cover where all the wires are at, make a cover that goes over it that hides it from the other side, and then it closes off the panel. Now, if you want to put the DVD drive in it, still give the option of the DVD drive, but then you could pop a panel off on the opposite side, and then take it off on the cover that you put on the side, and then basically then you'd have like access to the DVD drives from the side. Then you wouldn't have to worry about the glass panel and all that on the opposite side. That's another thought. Maybe you can build it in another model. Now, next thing, what was the other thing that I came across? No, I really don't know. I don't think there's anything really. Oh, maybe you should make some more mounting points for wires. They only give you like 4 Velcros running up the side, and then you run all your wires inside of it. They should have more than that. There should be at least 4 places where you can run the Velcros and run wires out, because you have wires for your SATAs, then you have wires for your power, then you have wires for your all your other components. If they broke that up individually, then having that less amount of space will give you a better way of controlling the wires so that you can put the side of the case on better. Another thought. Now, another thing. They have a vent on top of the case. Now, they should make it so that you can mount the liquid cooler, the fans on top, and then suck it in and blow down over it. You can't do this with this case. You only can put the liquid cooler down and the fans facing down, and you have to blow through or pull through. There's no way of putting the fan the opposite way up on the older cases like that I've noticed that I've had in the past. They have like a plastic shroud that goes over the top so that you could put your liquid cooler fans on top instead of inside the case. The reason why I wanted to do that, because then you can pull some of the heat out of your case better, because then your fans are outside of the case, not, inside where the cooler's at. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to do that. But you can't do that with this case. That's the other downfall. Now, like I said, if they had one that you can add 4-inch case, attach it to the existing case, then that would give you the ability to run another full liquid cool system, more power supplies, more of everything. Like, that would be great. Now, the other thing, almost every device now uses USB Type-C. So they're using the old style USB. You should at least give us 1 or 2 USB Type-C ports on the front. Because what happens is if you got all your ports on the back, you got to use cords and you got to run them up from your desk onto your desk, and it just looks unpretty and it doesn't look clean. So, another thought. And there is enough room that they could add more. They could add more USBs. And the only other thing, now, not a lot of people would have this problem, but I find I have a hard problem lifting the case. when you put it down, lay it down on its side, and you got two systems in there, and you got the old hard drives in there, not the um, solid states. The older hard drives get adds a lot of weight to the computer. Like once I add my 8 hard drives in there, like it's easily, I'd say, at least 10 or 20 pounds more heavier. Now the reason why I'm having so much hard time lifting it when you put it on its side, there's really no place where you can grab it. Especially when you put your liquid coolers and everything in there, and you have those Zeilman fans that don't have guards over them. Basically, it makes it very difficult to put it down or lift it, because then the fans are in the way. And if you put on the DVD drive where you mount your DVD drives and that, you have no handheld place where you can put your hand. What I was suggesting is why don't they not make like a handle that snaps on and snaps off, so that you can put it like maybe on the top, one on each side, so then you could lift it. Or maybe put a handle when you take the cover off, you snap the handle on, and then when you're done with it, you just take the handle off and you put the cover back on. It'd make it a lot more easier to lift it up. Another idea. I've never seen anyone do this yet with a computer case. I've seen the mad straps and everything where you can help you lift it and stuff like that, but it just, I don't know, straps are just not meant to be on a computer in my opinion. Now, the other thing is too, that once you get into the two system build, you start eating into a lot of your space on the opposite side. And that's going to create a problem in the future. Now, where you put your fans, where they put the fans in the front, they should have Velcro straps for them that run down the side, on each side. So that when you put your cooling fans in, you could snap those wires into the Velcros, so that those wires don't come loose and don't get caught in the fan. Would be an excellent idea. Now, another option. Why not add some slots on the case where you can light it up more? That you can just slide LED strips in. Be another idea. Now the other thing is maybe, I was talking about the USB ports are hard to put in. Maybe you should design the case where the case kind of lays on like a slant, so then when you're looking at the computer to plug something in, then you could see it instead of having it straight up square box. Another idea. Now, the only other scenario that I don't like, where you put the side to put the wires on, your hard drives are all on that side. You can see them when you take the cover off. Now, why not give us a little extra inch space so that you can put fans on that side, so we can cool off the back of the drives to keep the drives cool? Would be great. Now, other scenario I have is the hard drive cages. They got them up to the very front of the case. The problem with that is, once you put those cages there, you have no room to fit a liquid cooler there. Cannot liquid cool it from that point. So if you were going to liquid cool this system, two systems, you'd have to use a 3-port fan setup on the top, and you'd have to use a 2-fan or 1-fan setup on the bottom due to the restrictions of the size of the case. Because you'll not get a 3-inch fan down on the bottom where the piece of metal removes from the Phanteks case. Once you put all the drive cages in there. Maybe pull the drive cages back about an inch or two, so that you could basically fit a liquid cooler there with the hard drives in that vicinity. Because I find what happens with this system, it only gives you like a one-way configuration. Like if you have like two systems, it makes things a lot more difficult. Now, if you're creating a dual liquid cool system, maybe you can run the liquid cool system, the custom ones where you run all the tubing and the wires and everything. That is not the sealed version. You could probably make that work and let that run okay. That probably would not be a problem, because you could probably just hook up two systems to one liquid cooler and just buy the biggest liquid cooler you can buy and the thickest one. So that's that. Now, well, that are all my thoughts that I have at the moment. So basically, hopefully, when you buy this case, you'll have a better idea what you're getting yourself into and what options are available and what you can do with this case. You can look at my other videos as well. I do have the full system build. I'll have to create another video because I made some changes to the system recently. During the swap over my liquid cooling sealed kit, liquid has evaporated almost half of it, so that I can't use because the system is overheating. So I had to do a fan setup. I'll have to show that in a later video. I will be definitely getting a liquid cooler in the future again, but just at the moment, it's just not in the cards at the moment. Now, hit like and subscribe. Hit subscribe at the bottom. I could use all the subscribers as possible, and I do like the support, and keep supporting me, and hit subscribe, and see you on the flip side, and you have a great day.